So here are some sounds we can think about in English for all our English speakers here that are almost the same as the Spanish sounds. Notice I say almost the same. The reason being that there are some sounds that we just don't have in English that we do have in Spanish. And so we have to learn how to adjust our mouth to be able to make them. But many of these sounds are pretty darn close. For example, we said this before, and Dini gave a great example of singing father. Ah, in English, in American English at least, it's a little more sort of relaxed. Ah, in Spanish, it's ah, a little pure, a little more open mouth. Saw, ah. In Spanish, we have these words here, papá and agua. Does anyone know what those mean? Type them into the chat, please. Papá, agua. Anyone knows what those mean in English? Type them into the chat, please. Papá, agua. Any guesses? Throw them into the chat. Papá, agua. Good. Dad. Stefan says dad. That's correct. Papá is dad or father. And water. Dini says water. That's exactly right. Agua is water. Now we have a few different sounds in agua, but notice that it starts with a and it ends with a, right? The wonderful thing about Spanish is, unlike in English, Spanish is completely phonetic. What that means is we have one sound per vowel, and it always follows the same pattern, right? So in English, sometimes we'll have words like, In English, sometimes we'll have words like, I don't know, negotiation, right? Negotiation. I'm a little slow at writing here. And we have our first O, which makes an O sound, negotiation. And then the second O makes a sound. Why? I don't know. That's just how English works. And we have our first sound here, which is not but negotiation. We have our TI, which makes a sh sound. Why? English is a strange language. Sometimes TI can be t as opposed to sh. Why? Well, it depends on what comes before and what follows, but there are all these different variations in English, and it's a kind of a messy language. In Spanish, we never have to worry about any of that. We look at this word, and even if we've never seen it before, we know it's a. We know it's pa, pa. We never have to guess. So if you see a new word that you've never seen before, you know you are always going to be able to pronounce it perfectly because Spanish is a phonetic language. But you're only going to be able to do that if you really know your vowel sounds and your consonant sounds, which we're not going to get into today. I saw a nana yesterday. Interesting. A nana. Okay. All right. Next sound. I want you to try this all out. It's the e, right? We just talked about the pure e sound, which in Spanish is never e, but is always e. Words like met, bed. Met, bed. So in Spanish, we have these two words here. I'm not going to say them. I'm going to have you say them first. They're tough ones. Try it out. These words are esperanza y bebé. Esperanza and bebé. Anyone know what these two words mean? You can type it into the chat. These are some harder ones. Bebé is baby. Very good, Stefan. Esperanza. Does anyone know esperanza? ¿Alguien sabe qué significa esperanza? Hope. Very good, Jeffrey. Esperanza means hope. It's a noun, right? Esperanza is hope. Now, again, it's really important because in English, often we'll see an E and it'll actually make an sound, like in the word, well, we'll go back to negotiation. A lot of people say negotiation, negotiation. In Spanish, never, 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 never. We don't have to worry about different sounds. It's always esperanza, be. Good. All right. We're going to go through these more quickly. The E sound, which is always E, as in B, basically the same thing, and leaf. Again, why is it EA in English? I don't know. That's just how it works. In Spanish, we don't have to worry about that. If we saw this word in Spanish, it would be le af. Right? Let's go to these words here. Si, chica. What do those mean? Type them into the chat. Si, chica. Very good. Chica is girl. And keep making sure you're actually practicing them. Si, chica. Because what will happen is, even if you've taken Spanish for a couple of years, I can guarantee you there may be certain sounds that we still need to work on. And that's going to be crucial as we get more and more and more sophisticated in our Spanish. So make sure it's pure. You can look at my mouth, and you can look at your mouth. Si, chica. That's pure sounds. Next one, O, we talked about here. It's not O, it's O, as in lo and no. But really we're interested in this first sound. We don't really care about the W here. In Spanish, we have loco and bonito. Anyone know what they are? Type them into the chat, please. Crazy pretty, very good. Crazy pretty. And bonito here is, it can mean pretty. Yeah, it can mean handsome. Bonito, loco, very good. And finally, we have the U sound. U. Again, you want to think of the gorilla, right? U, U. Yeah, Stefan says nice or beautiful. It can mean beautiful. Yeah, it can mean nice. Yeah, a lot of that depends on the country or the region, right? Un día bonito is like a nice day, right? Good. The U sound, it's like in our English, Sue. Could be a name, could be a thing that you do in court, or do. But again, in English, the do sound is a little bit longer, and it's made up of a couple sounds, really. In Spanish, just u, do, right? So let's try these out. Why don't you try them out first? Speak them out loud. It's really important that we actually speak them out loud. These sound like grupo and futuro. Grupo, futuro. What do those mean? Type them into the chat, please. Very nice. Group and future. Now, these words may seem random. They are random in a sense. And we're just using them in order to demonstrate the vowel sounds.